What up, what up, what up, world? It's your boy AC. Welcome to the ACIMO channel. This is basically videos that are my opinion. So, everything you get in this channel is basically going to be how I feel about it. So, subscribe below and tune in. One thing that I want to talk about today is I'm going to dive into the topic, the controversial topic of relationships. Oof. That's a dangerous one because everyone always has an opinion when it comes to relationships. But luckily, this is my channel and it's all about my opinion. So hopefully I'll be able to give you guys something that is constructive and that you guys can learn from. But I really want to talk about communicating efficiently / effectively during relationships. So this is actually something that's a little more tough to do because typically with people, you're typically doing your thing by yourself, for the most part. And then, someone comes along and you get into a relationship and now it's no longer just about what you want or what you're thinking or how you're going to succeed, but you have to think about the other person as well. And that's the same rule that kind of applies when you have kids as well. Luckily, this is not about kids. This is about relationships. So, what I think is one thing that I think in terms of that's important in order for you to communicate effectively is if you have a concern, right? If you have a problem, I think that you should never go to sleep without talking about it. Here's why. I feel like if you have an issue with someone and you go to sleep, I feel like subconsciously everything that happened during the day gets kind of subconsciously planted into your memory and it makes it harder to just let go. That's simple. I really think it makes it harder to let go. Now, again, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a doctor or whatever. But from experience, I think that if you don't talk about it, you don't get it off your chest and you go to sleep, you wake up and it's still a looming problem that doesn't get resolved and that you don't come to agreement to make sure that, everything is on the copacetic and the up and up. I think that it just snowballs and becomes something bigger. So, and another thing is, this is, I guess, number 2. Another thing is really squash it. Okay? There's been times, and I'm speaking from experience. So in a relationship, if you two are not getting along, and it's because of a situation, and then you guys talk about the situation, you guys come to a mutual agreement and find mutual ground in order to resolve the issue, and you say, okay, that's over. The issue is over. It's squashed. I'm not worried about it no more. Don't just say that. Make sure that it actually is no longer bothering you and it's no longer an issue, because if you say that, this is no longer bothering me, the person is going to take whatever you tell them at face value. They're not going to think, oh, you're just telling me that for us to get along or, for us not to have friction. They're going to think that you're legitimately saying that because, you're no longer worried about it or, it's not that important. So you have to make sure that when you're communicating and you say that you're going to squash it. I guess number 3. I guess I'm going to number these. I didn't go into this thinking I was going to number anything, but I'm a number. So another rule to communicating effectively, you have to listen more than you speak. I'm going to be honest with you. I struggle with this to this day. This is a very, very hard thing to learn, but you do have to listen more than you speak. And, sometimes someone will say something to you and it may trigger you to where you want to put in your input or your opinion, but it would be better to allow them to hear them out and allow them to voice their concerns and their opinion and allow them to be heard and feel like they're being listened to. Well, I mean, they actually should be listened to. You really need to listen to what they're saying, but to actually feel heard, than for you to jump in and give your 2 cents because you're at the moment, if somebody's trying to convey something to you, the worst thing you can do is jump in while they're speaking because it makes them feel like it's not important. Like what they're saying is not that important because, you want to add on, especially if you're defending yourself, you just kind of want to wait your turn, kind of treat it like it's court. Let them give their disposition. let them get everything they need to get off of their chest, and just take turns. Take it slow. I feel like that's the best way for you to communicate effectively, because it allows them to get everything off their chest, and you don't interrupt them to make them feel, belittled, to be honest. Because I feel like when people are speaking and you jump in with your 2 cents, you're not listening, it makes them feel belittled sometimes. So I would, fall back from that. Number 4, like I said, wasn't numbering, but now I'm numbering. So for communicating effectively, number 4, I would say, and this is going to sound pretty crazy, but I really think that sometimes you need to just give people their space. Yes, you're in a relationship, and yes, when you're in a partnership, it is a two-way street, and you're collaboratively working together towards the same goals, or at least you should be. But sometimes people can get overwhelmed, especially if you're in a relationship where there's any kind of friction. Because like I said, if you weren't in a relationship before and you get into a relationship, you're used to a situation where you don't really have to deal with anybody's, this is a bad word, drama. You don't have to deal with anybody's drama. So now that you're in a relationship, if you have friction, sometimes you need space so you can calm down and get a level head and then jump back into the conversation. Because if you have a conversation where both of you guys are upset, no one's gonna really soak up what the other person is saying for both parties. So I think that it's just best to sometimes, if the situation is too heated or you're too emotional about it, you're not logical, you can't, think straight, or you can't, be equal when trying to come to a conclusion, maybe you need to just fall back, just wait on it. It's not that important. Wait on it. I mean, it's important, but just wait on it. It would be better for you guys to talk when you're level-headed than anything else. So moving on. Number 5. It is okay to get other people's opinions, right? But I want to definitely say that when 2 people are in a relationship, they're in a relationship with each other, not everybody else. So if you get constructive criticism, as far as, from this friend, that friend, and this friend, and you have their collective opinion on the situation, sometimes I think it may affect the way that your interaction is with your significant other. Because so to double back, when you're in a relationship, it's just you and that person. And when you start getting feedback from other people to make your decision, it makes it kind of like the person is dating you and everybody else around you. Because your opinion may not be the same as your friend's opinion. And I'm not saying, you can't ever run anything by your friends or whatever. But what I'm saying is don't use outsiders' opinions as the final say-so. The reason why I say that is because it kind of takes the individuality away from you. And especially if you're emotional and your friends are going to support how you feel more than your significant other most of the time. Most of the time. I'm not saying 100% of the time, but most of the time they're going to support your position over your significant others because they're your friend. So I think while you can take bits and pieces from people, I don't think that you should go to everyone and use that as, like a crutch. Like, oh, this is what I should do because these people said that this is what I should do. Number 6. Okay. So my uncle, he always has a toast amongst us, right? Amongst me and like whenever we're all hanging out, there's a toast. He says, I'm not above you, I'm not below you, but I'm right beside you. And I think that is something that we need to push more, equality. Make sure, that whatever decisions you're making in your relationship, it's on equal footing. So when you're going to communicate about an issue, or you dislike something, or you feel like it's not right, then you need to also think about the other person's position and, you know, the pros and cons from their point of view and how they may feel about it. That's really important to me, because I think that if you don't do that, like if you don't look at it from the other person's perspective, then you're really just going in with demands. You know, you're not really going in on equal footing. Equality is extremely important in a relationship. I mean, equality is a cornerstone of American society. If you don't believe me, look at American history and you will see just how big equality is in American history. It's like huge amongst, I mean, everyone. Equality has always been a thing. Men, women, you know, different races. Equality is a thing. So it still goes when you're in a relationship. Equality is a very important thing. And if people feel like they're not getting back what they're giving, it becomes an issue. So think about it from both sides. And on the other end of the spectrum, you need to be transparent enough to communicate how you feel if you feel like it's not equal and why. Super important. So I think we're on 7. My 7th tip for communicating effectively. Don't hold grudges. If you hold a grudge against somebody, I feel like most of the time when you hold a grudge, there is no way that that person can ever bounce back. They can't bounce back because you're holding a grudge, and no matter what they do, in the back of your mind, you're still going to be holding on to that frustration or that concern. And even if they move past it, you'll still be stuck on it. So this kind of ties into what I said earlier in the video when I said, you know, if you come to an agreement and you say that it's squashed, don't hold grudges. Don't bring it back up like 9 months later and say, you know, remember when you didn't give me a hot Cheeto? Like, I know that's pretty petty, but, you know, sometimes it'd be like that. So, you know, just don't hold grudges, especially against your significant other. Like, that's crazy. Let's see, 9th, for communicating effectively. Make sure that you never have those conversations in public. Make sure that the conversations, when it comes to your relationship or it comes to you being concerned about something and you know that it's nothing quick, first and foremost, even if it's not something quick, even if it's short, you need to like kind of lean in and be very quiet about it. But even if that's not the case, make sure that you pull your significant other to the side and you guys have that conversation away from where you're at. Don't ever do it in public. Don't blast anybody in public. It's not that serious. I don't care what it is, you know, unless your significant other is like putting their hands on you, which you shouldn't be in that relationship at all. You know, you should dip. If that's the case, I do not condone that. But, you know, like if it's an argument, or if you don't like something they said, save that issue and talk it out later. Which also comes to my next tip. Don't raise your voice. Don't argue. Like, it's healthy for you to have a disagreement, but don't make it a full-blown emotional argument, because at the end of the day, you guys are supposed to be a team. And yeah, you know, sometimes, you know, lovers fight. You know, sometimes people that are in a relationship, they don't get along. But don't go over the top. I feel like people know what I'm saying when I say go over the top. I feel like some people just go over the top with it. Like, there's a certain point where, like, you're just doing too much. Just stay below that threshold. So that's really all I got for you today. If I think of anything else, of course, I'll make another video. But for right now, that is my video on communicating effectively while in a relationship. Thank you guys for tuning in. Subscribe below. This is the ACIMO channel. I appreciate you guys' support, and I'll be back at you soon with another video. Yeah.